Hello YouTube, Herman Williams with ATM Financial Services, here again with another Money Smarts lesson to help you take control of your finances. Now today we're going to tackle a tough lesson, but it is one that I know affects a lot of people on a daily basis. Not only is it tough from a financial standpoint, but it is also tough emotionally. I'm talking about the dreaded student loan debt. First, let's talk about a few statistics associated with student loan debt. According to Experian data, student loan debt reached an all-time high of $1.4 trillion in the first quarter of 2019. That's right, trillion with a T. Just FYI, the U.S. deficit in 2019 was only $1.1 trillion. Student loans represent the second largest debt for Americans. Mortgages still hold a #1 spot, but nationwide there are more than 148 million outstanding student loan accounts. According to Experian, Americans carry on average $35,359 in student loan debt. Remember, that's just the average. That means there are a lot of people out there with a lot more student loan debt than that. One trend that you might find surprising is the growth of student loan debt among older people. Student loan debt peaks around age 34. Now this is referring to the age at which new loans are being taken out. In other words, somewhere around age 34 is when students have accumulated their highest amount of new student loan debt. I will tell you though that if you follow that original peak further out in life, you will see that for a lot of former students, the debt amount actually peaks at a much later age. Now this is due in part to things like deferment and accrued interest, negative amortization, financial hardship, and other factors. We'll discuss some of these factors in more detail later in the lesson. This age 34 statistic represents the youngest age among credit products, including credit cards, which peaks at around age 49. However, the average amount of student loan debt among older Americans is increasing. Data from the U.S. Department of Education shows that there were 17% more student loan borrowers aged 62 and older in 2019 than in the previous year. If we dig a little deeper, we will see that the data also shows that the percentage of parent borrowers with their child as the recipient with Parent Plus loans has increased 13% since 2015. The amount of money borrowed in Parent Plus loans has grown 38% in the same time period. So as you can see, that $1.4 trillion in debt is not just held by current or recently graduated students, it spans generations, and actually it has reached epidemic proportions. We now have more parents and grandparents attempting to assist in securing a good education for their family members, all in the quest to live the American dream. Quite often though, that dream turns into a nightmare. So what do we do about it? How do those who are struggling with student loan debt get beyond that so that they can lead the kind of productive life they intended when they first took out these loans? Unfortunately, there is no one solution or silver bullet that will work for everyone. When it comes to student loan debt, there are a number of variables and even more possible combinations of those variables. You've got types of loan, federal or private loans, the number of loans a person may have. Graduate students could have 15 or more separate loans, each for different amounts and at different interest rates. Loans could be in deferment and accruing interest or not accruing interest. They could be in forbearance, or a portion may qualify for forgiveness. There's also a standard repayment plan and an income-based repayment plan and several other repayment options. There's also an option for some people to pause payments due to financial hardship, or to have some or all of the loan forgiven for a commitment to certain public service fields. The one thing you should definitely understand about student loans is there is no statute of limitation on student loan debt. That means it can haunt you for the rest of your life if not paid. Wages can be garnished, assets can be attached, and credit scores could be negatively impacted. There's also this thing called negative amortization. Basically, negative amortization means that the monthly interest that is accrued on a loan exceeds the monthly payment amount. When this happens, the difference between what you paid on your monthly payment and the amount of interest that accrued is added to your principal balance. And if you are on one of the income-based repayment plans, this can easily happen. So even though the lower payment based on your income seems like a good idea, if it puts you into negative amortization, it is actually not helping you and is actually costing you more money and will take a much longer time to pay off the loan. One way to get out of negative amortization is to pay at least the accrued interest amount each month. If you're making payments on your student loans, but you notice your principal balance is going up instead of going down, you are more than likely in a negative amortization situation. The way that the interest accrual process works is that you take the annual percentage rate and divide it by 365 to arrive at a daily rate. You then multiply the daily rate by the current balance. This gives you a daily accrual amount. You then multiply the daily amount by 30 to arrive at a monthly accrual amount. If we use $8,000 as the balance and 6.5% as the annual percentage rate, this gives us a daily accrual amount of $1.42. Now we multiply that amount by the number of days in the billing cycle, usually 30. So for this example, that gives us a monthly accrual rate of $42.74. So if you are paying less than $42.74 in this example, the difference is added to the principal balance and the cycle starts all over again the next month. If you are paying less than $42.74 in this example, you're also in negative amortization. Using this same example, if $8,000 was the original balance on a federal student loan and the loan was in deferment for 3 years, the new balance at the end of 3 years would be $9,717.37. So now you owe $1,700 more than you borrowed and you haven't even started making payments yet. If we use the average amount of student loan debt of $35,359 and the same interest rate and deferment period, we can see that the principal balance after 3 years would be $42,949.57. That's a difference of $7,590.57. The latest statistics show that roughly 70% of college graduates in 2019 had student loan debt at graduation. That means only 30% of 2019 graduates finished school with no debt. The federal government defaults every student into their standard repayment plan, which is a 10-year fixed rate program. If you are fortunate enough to land a job right away with a substantial starting salary, the standard repayment plan might work for you. Everyone else is left trying to find a repayment plan that will work for them. The most popular seems to be the income-based repayment plan because it takes into account not only your adjusted gross income, but also your family size, how many dependents you have, and the cost of living for your state. There is also an opportunity for loan forgiveness after 20 or 25 years. 20 years for loans that were dispersed after July 1st, 2014, and 25 years for loans dispersed before July 1st, 2014. But there's a catch to the loan forgiveness. Actually, there are two catches. First, in order to qualify for loan forgiveness, you must have made all of your payments on time for those 20 or 25 years. Second, the amount that is forgiven is treated as ordinary income by the IRS and taxes are due on that amount in the year of forgiveness. So my question is, was there really a forgiveness? Student loans are the gifts that keep on giving. Many borrowers end up paying double or even triple the amount they originally borrowed and they still may not have the loan paid. It is really a crisis that needs to be addressed on a national level, but there's not a lot of incentive to make any substantial changes because, as you can see, student loans can provide a hefty revenue stream for our government and financial institutions. If you can afford the standard 10-year repayment plan, then by all means, please stick with that option and even make extra payments if possible. If you are in the majority who are on the income-based repayment plan, then you have some tough decisions to make. If your total student loan debt is not too high, and if you are able to make some sacrifices to free up money in your monthly budget, then you may want to employ either the debt snowball or the debt avalanche method, assuming you have multiple loans. If you are not familiar with these debt elimination strategies, please make sure you watch my video on debt freedom. If you have a larger amount of debt and that debt was accumulated over several years and it originated when interest rates were much higher than they are now, you may want to consider refinancing all or some of your loans. Pick the ones with the biggest difference in interest rates and tackle those first. You may have to break it up into a series of refinances to make it affordable. If you qualify, you will usually have the option to choose a fixed rate or a variable rate. Be very careful here. The variable rate is usually lower, but if you will be repaying the loan over a long period of time, the rate could change dramatically. The rates will vary with the rate set by the Federal Reserve. However, the Fed doesn't usually make large changes all at once, but as we have seen, they can make a number of small changes over the course of the year. Right now, rates are very low, and the Fed has signaled that they don't plan any increases in the short term. But changes in the overall economy could change their mind, and therefore their rate strategy could change. So just be informed before deciding on a fixed or variable rate when refinancing. Yet another strategy might be to pay at least the accrued interest amount if you have loans with a negative amortization. This probably won't pay the debt off any faster, but it may prevent you from getting hit with that huge tax bill at the end of 20 or 25 years. Student loan debt is one of the biggest obstacles to financial independence. When you are saddled with student loan debt, it limits or eliminates your opportunity to plan for retirement or accumulate wealth. It can also prevent you from being able to afford the purchase of a home or plan for your kids' education. It's a complicated problem that not many people are willing to talk about, or even fewer are truly interested in finding a viable solution. My advice to you is to start by reviewing your current situation. If you are on a repayment plan, you should be receiving statements on your accounts. On those statements is most of the information you need to begin crafting your debt elimination strategy. If you are not yet on a repayment plan, get on one as soon as possible. If you are currently in school and still need to take out new loans, please be smart about the amounts you borrow. Student loans can be used to cover tuition and living expenses, but just because you can borrow a certain amount doesn't mean that you should. Student loans can easily lure you into paying for what will eventually become some expensive hamburgers. If you can change your behaviors while you are in school, it won't be as hard to adjust your behaviors when you are out of school. The potential long-term effects of student loan debt and the cost of the lack of financial knowledge is the reason I started this YouTube channel. If I can help just one person get a step closer to living the American dream, or at least prevent them from having nightmares, then I will feel like I have accomplished something. If you need help crafting your repayment strategy, please reach out to me through my website. Remember what I always say, good money management is a learned behavior. So until next time, behave well.